This is The Lineup with Dave Prodan, a podcast where we have conversations with people in and around surfing.
I talked to every Grom in the lineup because it's exactly how I was.
How did you get so good?
We were there all day. You know, we were down there in the dark and we went home in the dark every day.
Would you consider speed one of your greatest assets?
Yes. It's what I try to do in the wave, go as fast as I can.
These are honest discussions with people in the surfing space. Check it out on worldsurfleague.com and wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome back to the CbdMd Jaws Big Wave Championship. Checking out the program, The Lineup, featuring Dave Prodan on the podcast every Friday. A new episode drops. Felipe Toledo, recently interviewed by Dave Prodan. You want to catch all that insight? We haven't had a big wave guest yet on The Lineup. Any suggestions for a big wave guest? I'm going to go with Dave Kalama. Dave, would you like to talk to Dave Prodan?
I'd be happy to. If there's one thing I love,
It's talking.
Is talking in big waves, right? Since I don't really ride them anymore, I got to get the vicarious experience and bring up the memories of riding them. So talking about them is all I've got now.
I love it. And you might have to arm wrestle with Peter Bell actually for that podcast because
I already have my date set, bro. You didn't know?
Oh, Pete's,
Sorry. We're meeting this week.
don't let the cat out of the bag, Pete. We're looking forward for more of the lineup. And the lineup is on fire here at Jaws, and someone's going to take a trip over the falls. That looked like that was maybe Joao de Macedo. We're going to confirm that when the smoke clears.
That is crazy stuff. And unfortunately, the smoke and fire keeps happening, and fury, because now I'm going to have to deal with that one as well. Oh, man. That is, again, you're right. I think it is the white jersey.
So the surfer from Portugal, he's in charge of Joao de Macedo.
And
not a nice start.
And if anybody, though, I'll tell you that from my experience watching Joao de Macedo, is that he is no worries, can take a licking, and he will keep on ticking. He goes right back out. Oh, it's yellow. That was the Grom. Oh, no, it's Tori Meister.
Tori Meister, sorry. So Tori Meister, we got our eyes on him now. Took that beating. Here it is.
Oh, I mean, at this point, he's trying to get out of there. I mean, that was the idea, is like, I'm late, I'm too late, I'm going to get out. But I don't believe that happened, because there is so much water moving that he took a trip over the falls. And that's just not a short trip. That is a very long trip.
Yeah, he signed up for the full tour.
Looks like he's okay. Abe Lerner there on the ski. He's been working over at the Billabong Pipe Masters. And came over here as one of our very experienced lifeguards.
Pete, at that point, you're already on the tour bus. You might as well go. It seems like it would almost have been safer to head for the bottom one way or another, on the board or off the board. But that's your chance that you might penetrate and get under. When you go over the falls or get sucked over, there is no ifs, ands, or buts. You are taking a beating. And that usually means you're going deeper, too, when you go over the falls, because it's going to drive you, if not to the bottom, nearly to the bottom.
Yeah, you can see sometimes if you ever get, the cameras on these guys, they're reaching for their handles. Each one of these inflation vests have several cartridges. Some have 2, some have 4, but each one of them have a handle involved. A lot of them have 4, where you can actually use one handle to pull up on it. You're going to inflate one cartridge, or you can pull down and inflate another cartridge. So you're going to be grabbing at those things as you're taking that trip over the falls, trying to get your fingers at least on it so that it's a lot easier to get to it, because if you're getting flopped around, it's very difficult.
Have you ever missed the handle on a grab?
Yes, absolutely. And that's why you'll see a lot of times that they're grabbing for it very early, so you have your hand on it, and it's basically your parachute that gets you to the surface. And so you'll hold on to that thing. Matter of fact, you start pulling it, because it does take a little time, especially at pressure. If you're underwater and you're being pounded by these waves, there's so much intense pressure being applied to it. That's why you see these guys inflating early. I mean, in early inflation, it takes a good probably 3 seconds to get the entire vest inflated, especially under pressure.
I mean, to that note, the moment is so intense, I'd almost be afraid of pulling so hard and breaking the handle.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, exactly that. I have not broken a handle yet, but
Glad to hear that.
but conceivably could happen for sure.
I mean, imagine if you're in NASCAR and you're headed for the wall and you have to pull the handle to get the airbag to go before you hit.
That's the truth.
Take a look at Lucas Chumbo Chianca. He is a charger, and he's a proven charger. We saw him do damage at Nazare, where he came out a victor over there at the Nazare Challenge. Let's take a look back at that Nazare Challenge and the performance, Pete, of Chumbo.
Yeah, the world's biggest beach break wedge. It's a crazy, crazy wave. I mean, these waves come out of these deep, deep canyons and form this wave. And Lucas has been one of the standouts of the last few years. I mean, he came out of that small town of Saquarema, where we have our Oi Rio Pro, and he has developed himself as one of the leading Brazilians out of the big wave world. Not only Brazilian, but one of the best. And you can see, I mean, he is taking small wave surfing approach to the big waves. That was something that I always tried to do for myself, but this guy has taken it a whole next level. I mean, he's literally trying to do airs on his 10-foot surfboard.
I remember last year him trying to do an air over on the left.
Yes, so we will be seeing him, I would assume, doing the same exact exploits.
We're going to see more of Lucas Chumbo Chianca. We're also going to see more of his younger brother, Joao Chianca, who made his initial appearance his rookie year at the Vans Triple Crown of Surfing on the North Shore. Joao Chianca had some great performances in the first 2 jewels of that Vans Triple Crown of Surfing.
Okay, let's breathe. You know, you can anticipate. I mean, I look out on that ocean and it is just corduroy once again.
While the ocean's breathing, let's check out what Nate Florence, he's on the boat with Dave Wassel.
Once again, standing here with another winner today, Nathan Florence. Congratulations, great job. Tell us about the conditions. It looks like it's getting bumpy.
Yeah, so it seemed like it was just light offshore when we first rolled up, kind of grooming the face a little bit, the normal Maui bump on it, and then the wind almost quieted for a second, and then came the chop. I think was the precursor for the wind that's hitting now. Now the wind, just as our heat almost ended, it jacked up a lot more. So I think the next couple of heats are going to be a little rough on the drops.
Now, I noticed your game plan, and I'm just going to keep this between us. Don't tell anybody else out there. You sat wide and inside and got some big, big scores. Great job.
Yeah, thank you. I just saw, like, there's Albie and there's Billy, and they're so knowledgeable out there, and I was like, I'm going to play between these guys. If Billy's too deep, then I'm in the spot, and if Albie's too far on the side, then I'm in the spot. So it worked out that time.
And now for the Star Wars quote of the day. The force is strong with this one. Good job, my man.
Hey, remember, thank you, Dave. Thank you, Nathan. Remember, Nathan, you can't tell any secrets out there because everyone can have that free WSL app on their mobile device and just catch all this streaming. So no secrets in the channel. Everyone's on it. We saw during that interview, Joao de Macedo on his first wave.
We saw there, that was the loop, which of course he grabbed onto the loop. That was allow him to slide up onto the sled. He was holding onto that lead. But at that point, it is very fatiguing to hold on and get dragged out of there. You need to get up onto the surface.
Well, even if you get up on the sled, Pete, we've seen it happen a couple times already, where the board will actually pull the surfer off of the rescue sled and back into the water, and the ski has to drive away. They can't stay there and
Just
wait.
exactly right there. We just saw that happen. I mean, he wasn't able to get there. And when you're fatigued, trying to get up on there, grabbing these things and pulling yourself up, it is so difficult to do. Every time that you're doing this over and over and over, doing it 3 or 4 times in a heat, it is so challenging. I mean, look at this crew working so diligently. I mean, there's 3 different skis all backing each other up. They ride behind the wave, wait for the surfer to come to the surface. There he is there, a little bit early.
Wow.
So back up right behind.
Well, he was under the water for quite a while, Pete. Here we go, Cole Rothman on the backhand, big right. Cole with a nice high line, grabbing the rail, showing some control. Nice opening ride by Cole Rothman.
Very nicely done.
You know what I liked about that? How low he was in that initial bottom turn. That stability, and at that speed, you need all the stability you can get.
And being able to have those shock absorbers. When you're low, you're able to kind of absorb it. You can extend yourself and compress yourself. and ultimately absorb the big bumps needed to get through and get yourself to that safety of the channel. I mean, he went all the way, pushed to the rocks there for João de Macedo.
If I were him, I'd be thinking about buying the water safety crew, maybe a 6-pack or 2.
Watch this late drop, beautifully done. Again, everything forward on the board to get down the face, very similar to what we see backsiders do at Pipeline. Get that board, lead with the head, get down the face. Nicely done there for Koa. This is going to be the best wave of the heat.
You know what, another thing I noticed is typically you don't see surfers surf from the middle of the board as much as he was right there. You can see how he looks a little bit forward. But it actually was a functional, I think, strategic move because it poured more rail in the water, which allowed him to draw out that turn and really cover ground.
I mean, these boards are 21 to 23 inches wide, depending on what they are. You see how he has his board or his foot literally on the other side of the stringer. That's the ability to sink that rail. I mean, he's surfing that board from literally the inside rail half, which is so cool to see with these cameras really tight on the feet, and then a late tail tapping drop there from João de Macedo. When he dropped in, I was like, and he held on by his toenails. Of course, the ride after the ride, very, very challenging. I mean, he took 4 more waves on his head after that, had to get dragged by the ski for a bit as we watch this one. Oh, such a nasty wipeout there for Tori Meister.
And with those wipeouts come our water safety team and how key it is for our water safety team to be out there. We got the best in the biz today at the CbdMd Jaws Big Wave Championships. Here we go, dropping into this one, Taylor Laurent. Local boy, no problem with that difficult drop kicking out of the channel.
You do realize that this man stuffed himself through his surfboard. Literally, I'm not joking, stuffed himself through his surfboard out here at Pe'ahi. Put a hole, his leg all the way through a hole. How does that even happen? But he did that and was able to not come out unscathed. So he karate chopped a 3-foot thick surfboard, similar to what he just did by floating off of that little whitewater section that he did on the drop. That was so well done.
Well, he's the next generation of big wave surfers as we look at this replay. The first look that we had of him, he was still in high school when he entered his first event here at Jaws.
See, he's got a T-leaf for safety dragging off there. That's explain the T-leaf.
So the T-leaf is considered good luck in Hawaii and has a lot of mana associated with it, Hawaiian energy. And I've known Tyler also for a long time, and I used to surf with his dad. In fact, I've even got to spend time down in Tavarua, down in Fiji, where he is a lifeguard at times throughout the year. And he is such a cool, humble, just genuine person and an incredible surfer.
I like the Polynesian reference to the tea leaf for luck. We'll see in a lot of voyaging canoes for Hawaiians, you would always have the tea leaf on the bow of the boat, or even in racing canoes.
My first experience.
And I love that vision, Pete, and I love that you pointed that out.
It's my first experience was here in Maui with this man right next to me, and we were doing we were filming for a movie, and Laird, Dave, I was able to share some experience, and one of the things that we did when we got to their camp was that we had tea leaves and we tied them to the bows of our boat so that we could have good luck and safe voyage.
Well, not to mention the Kalama family, the Kalama Ohana, when we look at both surfers as well as voyagers, have a lot of history, Dave. Your family tree is incredible.
Yeah, so they're originally from Kaupohana area. But now they are spread out all through Hawaii as well as the mainland. At my level of kin, there are hundreds of cousins, and there's 2 to 3 more generations below mine, right? And so yeah, Kalama is like saying Smith on the mainland. There's just so many of us, and most of us are related. But yeah, the history and the legacy of the Kalama name in the water is wow.
There we go. You saw him going for the air.
Flying on the water, a couple of ollies there on a large set of stairs. That was Lucas Chumbo Chianca going left.
I remember the story that your father had told me about his experience at the Cortez Bank, which is another amazing wave that we've actually figured out. I mean, it used to be a fishing spot. That's why your father went out there, but it has become a big wave spot. Very rarely surfed. As you watch this replay here of Lucas on the left, the rare lefts that we see, but Lucas, being a goofy foot, would be chasing him down. Unfortunate there, the error getting himself.
Could have used some foot straps.
Here's the young man with a big story, 15-year-old Ty Simpson Kane, out in the heat in the green jersey. What an inspirational story this is, Dave.
Yeah, 15 years old. We got to see a taste of him last year, toe in when the event was called off. What a significant day it was in that young man's life. And now here he is a year later competing in the event that he was only watching last year and doing a great job. I mean, get your mind around 15. What were you doing at 15? Were you riding some of the biggest waves in the world?
No, I wasn't. I was thinking about it, but I definitely wasn't doing it, which is that's half the battle, right? You watch Lucas here. And that's the
unique approach that Chumbo takes. We've seen him do those just ollies or those jumps down waves, but that one didn't go very well.
Yeah, well, that's the wax. You know, again, you travel from wherever he had to travel. You don't know if the wax was all perfect there for him as we watch. No!
Oh, boy. Tori Meister pulling into a barrel and just absolutely going for it. No exit there for Tori Meister.
Remember,
he started this heat with a pretty brutal wipeout, but he's right back on the horse charging.
And that's the best way to deal with it, is to do exactly that. Just turn your board around and head down the face one more time in hopes that it's a successful ride. Although he is now taking a beating once again. And you saw the strapping on his feet. I mean, he had a very serious injury that he just coming back from. And so the strapping, he's not 100%. And I'm sure that he would like to make sure that he stays healing and not worsening that injury.
And the pickup, you know, so he still is in this event. Shane Dorian, you guys, decided not to surf this event. As Shane pulled out, that opened the door for the surfer in the green jersey, Ty Simpson Kane, to get into this competition. We're talking about the 15-year-old. And Shane Dorian actually called him up and wished him good luck this morning. Let's take a look at this and a charging Tori Meister.
Hey, he committed right from the start. He knew he had to send it, and that's exactly what he did. Come hell or high water, he was going to pack that thing. And you got to respect that level of commitment. He's here to compete. He's not trying to survive. He doesn't want to just say, oh, I was in it. He's trying to move on. There's no doubt about it.
Well, and you think about this first rounds, right? If you can get yourself through first rounds, you're going to most likely get a repeat invite. You know, not guaranteed, of course, but you want to get through these first rounds. You know, you're given a chance, an opportunity. You don't want to squander it. So I see Tori here. It's a golden opportunity, first time in this event. So I believe that he wants to make sure that he makes a mark.
As we're resetting here at the CbdMd Jaws Big Wave Championship, Tyler Laron out in the lead, followed by Cole Rothman. We'll see how this plays out when we return to Jaws right after this.
This event is presented by CbdMd, the official CBD partner of the Jaws Big Wave Championships, and by Michelob Ultra, the official beer of the World Surf League.
We are back at Pe'ahi for the CbdMd Jaws Big Wave Championships. Kaipo Girl, along with a couple of big wave legends, Peter Mel and Dave Kalama, to talk you through this exciting day. And we are in the back half of heat number 4, which will set semi-final number 2 in competition today, guys.
Well, you already see a set of good scores in place in relation to what we've seen all day. I mean, a 3.5 to a 4-point ride can be your second ride. We actually saw a 4.5 win a heat, so it is a challenging day in that realm, Dave. But there has been those incredible rides that we've seen earlier today.
Yeah, you know, there's been quite a fluctuation between 5-minute period that just shows us a non-stop, back-to-back, just crazy action, and then we go into these 15-20-minute periods where not much is happening, and it's reflective in the scores that aren't as high as we might associate with surfing really good waves at Pe'ahi. And so you kind of have to take what the ocean or what Pe'ahi gives you and make the most of it, because everyone's out on the same field at the same time, right? Yeah, it is a level playing field.
And you think about how long these heats are. I mean, in big wave surfing realm, you'll spend, I mean, example, Greg Long or a Shane Dorian will spend 6-7 hours in the lineup and maybe only ride 3 waves, and they'll end up being the 3 best waves of the day. And all of a sudden you see the images back and they're like, oh my gosh, Shane Dorian was killing it, Greg Long were killing it. But they were patient, they were waiting. And in competition, it's a whole different realm. You've got 40 minutes to try and provide it a performance, and you got to catch 2 waves, and it can be very difficult to do that.
Yeah, I mean, it's much different than free surfing out here, where you can be patient, you can take time, and you can be more conservative. In this scenario, if you want to get to the final, there's no conservative surfing. You have to force the issue a little bit. You have to press if you want to get to that final.
We're almost filled our semifinals. As you can see, semifinal number 1, Eli Olsen, Russell Bjerke, Makua Kai Rothman, Kai Lenny, Ian Walsh, and Nick Von Rupp. Over on the other half, Nate Florence, Nick Lamb, Billy Kemper already filling the top half of that one. We're still trying to figure out the last 3 surfers into that semifinal, and then a final. We also are waiting to see the women take to the lineup, and I cannot wait to see that. Right now, your leader in this heat number 4, Tyler Laurent. He has 1 wave, which is a 3.77. And, you know, it's a pretty impressive 3.77, I must say. Cole Rothman also with a 3.67. So we'll see how those factor out in the end of this. But I mean, if you talk about intensity of wave, we've seen some very intense moments in this heat, but to limited scores considering what we've seen.
You know, looking at the screen and taking a quick peek at the overlay of the whole situation, it seems like the pack has moved down more to the end bowl, and they're not sitting truly as much on the peak as they were earlier.
What do you think the reasoning behind that is? I mean, I had mentioned the tides, and I don't really know how much effect those tides can have, but we do have a pretty good coefficient, being that we're on the full moon, right? So we have a pretty high tide and a fairly low tide.
Low tide, high tide. And yeah, I think these guys are realizing they have to make a few waves in order to advance. They've probably seen some big names drop out, and that's mostly because they just couldn't get 2 waves or 2 completed rides, right? So safe money is down at the end more, make a couple of waves, and then maybe you can go up a little deeper.
Lucas Shanka, late tail tapping drop on a massive wave, and this is where the maneuvers come into play. This is what separates this guy, is that he wants to hit the lip. He wants to surf these waves. He wants to do kick flips.
Whoa.
That was a beautiful wave. I feel like this is going to be a good score here. Committed with that extra wind. There's that loop. High Surf Accessories, major part of the safety crew here, being that they have developed all of the sleds and all the tools of the trade. They're actually straps that strap the seats down as we watch this. Beautiful stuff, Dave.
Looked like a little bit of weightlessness, or he came detached for a split second, which means he was literally free falling, but stuck the landing, maintained his position on the board, which allowed him to surf it as aggressively as he did. And you can see him try and do a kickflip, but it looks like he almost landed on the business end of the board right there. So I don't know if I'd be trying that.
As we see again, the maneuvers taking place there, a nice hook up under the lip. Just trying to describe surfing like he's riding a shortboard, but it literally is what he's trying to do. He's trying to surf these waves and utilizing the maneuvers. As you watch again, that tail tapping approach, he actually, in a way, likes to unweight his board. He feels free when he gets that tail moving around. I've seen it at Mavericks. I've seen it done here at Peahi. I've seen it done at Waimea. You know, he does it everywhere. He gets into the wind and he likes to see that little tail tap.
Well, you know, I used to do this. I hate to even compare what I used to do with a longboard to what these guys are doing. But when you kind of do a little hip thrust off the top, you're controlling the air. Like if you know you're going to get air, you're better off sending it under your initiation, and it gives you a better chance to control that air for a split second. But when you launch and you don't have control, you're along for the ride.
And that's exactly it. I mean, you're making it happen, right? So you're going to be able to lift at the right time, place your body there, you put your arms out for balance, all of those things when you're in the air. But when you're ready for it.
You can anticipate what that board angle is going to be at, how to stay on top of it, how to use the wind to keep it pressed against the bottom of your feet. But if you go airborne because you hit a bump, chances are you're going to get bucked off of the board, lose that connection, which means you lose control of the situation.
Well, guys, under 18 minutes, 17 minutes and 50 seconds counting down, and we're still waiting for that last score of Chumbo. Lucas Cianca, likely with that score, he's going to go to the lead in this heat number 4 of the CbdMd Jaws Big Wave Championships. And just like that, Lucas Cianca goes to the top.
Look at the angle of those swells there, Dave. I mean, that's, again, when you talk about the north element, they're going to see the waves coming at us here, and then the west element going away from us, and then it's literally hooking around this horseshoe reef.
You know what else I'm noticing now, and that's a great picture of it, is the plume coming off the top of the wave, which is an indication that the wind is starting to pick up.
Oh, man.
Oh, my.
That didn't look good.
That did not look good for Tyler Laron.
Pressing, Tyler is.
And that might have been a result of that wind increase not allowing you to make it down the face as easy.
Well, I mean, you're already, you're taking it, probably as he's not up yet, or is that just the board?
That's the board. We're gonna get keen eyes on the water right now.
Ooh, Pete.
Water Patrol zigzag. There's the head.
Okay. I was worried that was a two-wave hold down there. He covered some ground.
He sure did.
Which probably means he inflated his vest, because that buoyancy is going to bring you closer to the surface where the water's moving quite rapidly towards the inside, but it's going to get you back to the surface a lot quicker, which is ultimately where you're allowed to breathe.
It's the oxygen supply.
It's about oxygen.
Oh, falling from the sky again. Another
Meister.
Brutal beating for Tori Meister. Oh, that one the worst yet.
He is taking a licking. And it's not ended yet.
That looked bad. Not that the other ones haven't looked bad, but he landed upside down and backwards, which means he went in head first. And when you're that turned upside down, well, it looks like he made it to the surface, which I'm glad about that. But whenever you land head first and backwards, that brings head injuries, neck injuries into the equation. Landing on your feet, you got a lot better chance of penetrating with some control. But when you're upside down and backwards, scary, very scary.
And Dave, water is very hard when you're talking about waves of this size, right?
Oh, absolutely.
No, it's
when
like
you're falling from 40 foot up, which some of these waves are right now, that water is going to feel like concrete initially, and then it allows you to penetrate down
So
deeper.
he just jumped out of a 4-story building and landed on his back on the concrete. And then he wants to get back up and go do it again. Well, maybe not, but that was his third pretty massive wipeout. I mean, considering what he did on the very first wave where he went over the falls for a trip, and then the barrel.
But hey, guys, look at, he's above the cut line right now. He's still in third place and has a chance to advance into the semifinals with 14 minutes and 45 seconds counting down.
Let's hope that he has a broken board.
Judging by the body language I just saw there and the head dipping down a little bit and the shoulders sagging, I got a feeling that took a toll.
Look at this.
Or maybe it was all three of them.
Oh!
But that looked like it took a toll, and he was breathing and trying to recover and just regain his composure.
Oh, man, that looked nasty. You just got to watch in awe of these warriors as this kind of stuff happens. I mean, kicks the board away. So there you go, all the way down, and then bang, whipping of the neck. There's some whiplash, and then trip over the falls. This whole time you're holding your breath as this happens.
And for everyone out there going, oh, well, it's just water, how bad can it be? Go jump out of a 4-story hotel and tell me how you feel tomorrow. That is going to leave a mark. You have so much adrenaline coursing through your veins right now. You don't realize how significant of a traumatic experience you've just gone through with all that adrenaline, right? But I promise you, when he wakes up tomorrow morning, he is going to feel that.
Right there, the most important part of this entire competition, our water safety. But we do have an explicit, we have a specific and a well-planned out water safety plan, guys. Pete, I know you're all about it. Talk us through our water safety.
Well, and when I was my term as a commissioner, we developed this whole thing, and it's a very critical element, especially here in every big wave break, but especially here. And this one was designed because we have a peak. You know, it's going to be a right and a left. You have to have the boat marshal, which is just for checking in communications. You got a medical transfer boat, which is going to be a boat that's going to go any serious implications. We can use that. We could also ultimately probably use the helicopter if we really needed an extra one. But medical boats there with doctors on board. But all of those skis, those are the really the true first responders. Those are the heroes of the medical safety team.
Yeah, the Zone 1, the Zone 2 skis that we saw in that graphic. And while we are away discussing safety, we saw Chumbo tippy-toe through a drop, feathering down that drop, and again, just showing his control and courage. That's Jaws. What a ride for Lucas Chumbo Chianca.
How fun is he to watch? I mean, there again, tippy-toe. He does that each and every wave. He loves to have that tail tapping effect. It's incredible, especially at Jaws. When you start to lift the nose like that and you get that wind underneath, you get it accentuated. Look at this.
That's amazing. That's amazing. He's obviously made friends with the air. It does not intimidate him to leave the water for a split second or two. And then the rail work that followed that, and how he actually grabbed down and used his hand, incorporated it into the technique for a split second there. Really, really a fine display of big wave surfing.
And Pete, something we know about Chumbo is we surfed with him in Nazaré just this year when we were in Portugal. We'll get back to that conversation because 15-year-old Ty Simpson Kane making his mark at Jaws. Beautiful line for the teenager as he kicks out of the channel.
And again, we didn't even really get to touch on this story because each time that he's riding waves, there's more waves to follow. But that board that is under his feet was actually a gift. And of course, we're not going to get to the story once again, but beautiful stuff there from Tyler.
So competitive heat here, flurry of waves, flurry of rides, and we'll be waiting for some scores.
You know, Ty, I think, you know, he's already got one number. This is going to be a pretty good number, better than his first. So this could help him out in a big way. Tyler already in second. But let's take a look here at the 15-year-old.
Looks like those fins saw a little air time there for a split second. So to maintain that, engage the rail, make it all the way to the channel. Really mature surfing, I would say. For a 15-year-old, the composure.
You know what I like about it? Is that at 15, he is making quality choices in his waves.
Yes.
He's not going out there with this reckless abandon. And that was one worry you'd have of a young man, is that I'm going to go out there and prove something, you know, and this is a very calculated and good, solid approach for a man who I believe is going to have a very long and extensive big wave career.
And you can say the same for Tyler Laron that we're watching right here on the replay. So comfortable looking.
But we were able to talk to Ian, and the fact is that Tyler has been borrowing equipment to fulfill this dream, right? You know, he's been going around borrowing equipment, borrowing inflation vests, doing everything he can to get himself out here in the lineup. And recently, the boys got together and gifted him this surfboard he has under his feet. It's a brand new board for this season. And he finally has his own custom board.
That's right. We're talking about green Ty Simpson Kane in that gift from Ian Walsh and encouraging him and giving him his own equipment.
And he's been training with the boys, putting the time in. You know, I guess, you know, you figure he's at 15. He hasn't put that much time in, but he's doing all of the right steps.
Well, as Dave alluded to, when we saw the Kai Lenny show last year and Kai was towing into giant, massive Jaws, Ty borrowed Kai's tow board and put on quite a show too, Dave.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, he would have been 14, which is insane. You know, that sort of, the only thing that comes to mind that kind of throws back to that same thing is Jeff Hackman at Waimea Bay, I think when he was 14, if I remember right, or somewhere in that. So it's not like it's a common thing, right? And the experience he's getting here, and the board that you spoke about being gifted to him, that speaks to the fraternity and the brotherhood that big wave surfing is, and how well he's been adopted by that whole community. It really is a fantastic story.
I like that you referenced Jeff Hackman. He won the Duke Kahanamoku Invitational at 15 years old. So that tradition continues, and a beating for Koa Rothman on your screen.
Well, so Koa Rothman needed a wave here at the back end of this heat. He has the 3.67. He's outside of that cut line, sitting in 4th. We are going to see 3 scores, though, that we need, 4 scores actually need to post here in order to get the rest of the heat unfolded. But always a price to pay at Jaws. And you're witnessing it right in front of your eyes.
And this story continues to repeat, and hats off again to our water safety. Watch the snatch.
Up quickly, in and out.
I can't tell you how hard it is to line that pickup up. When you're driving in, you could be right on target, and as soon as you let off of that accelerator, you essentially don't have a means to steer. And the water's moving so much. There's giant boils of water coming up, and when they hit the surface, they go left and right. And if you get caught in one of those boils when that water's moving, you could move 10 feet to the right or left, completely miss the guys. We've seen a couple times happen, but it's not driver error. That's part of what it comes with.
And Pete, you are a good jet ski driver in your own right. The froth on the wave, the white water, that can affect the ski's performance as well.
Oh, 100%. I mean, we were talking about the fact that, I mean, you've got a pump, right? It's a pump that has a screw drive in it. So it's pulling water in as we watch a beautiful ride here. I like this wave from Koa Rothman, even though he had to pay that price. He was on that north peak. Nice, beautiful late drop, dealing with the wind beautifully. So I feel like this number here is going to be a good addition to his already 3.67.
Here's the heat leader, Lucas Chumbo. Chumbo again, just with a unique approach to big waves. And a lot of that unique approach to the big waves for Chumbo is the fact that he's just a great surfer, period. I was saying that we surfed with Chumbo in Portugal just this year on a 4-foot day. And Chumbo is an aerialist. Yeah. He's a great surfer. He's a great shortboard surfer.
He could make a run on the qualifying series and could conceivably make the tour if he wanted to push it that way. But I think he's just too much in love of doing this.
I mean, that was shades of a layback.
He's really entertaining, and I think he brings that performance to all of his big wave sessions. But you touched on, the skis and the ability of driving these skis in these really wild waters. I mean, you have aerated water and you lose control. You've got bubbles, and it's like driving a boat through a river, and it can be very challenging, and that's why you need to have as many experienced drivers as we have, because not every pickup's going to be perfect.
João de Macedo going for it in the final 5.5 minutes. Notes that he needs to post some scores to get in the conversation, and if he wants to move on to the semifinals.
Oh!
And the young Ty Simpson Kane is going to feel the jaws of Jaws.
I'll tell you, this is an experience that he is bound to see and feel at some point if he's going to be out here challenging Pe'ahi. So this is all experience. It's all understanding and realizing, do I want to keep doing this? Oh, no, his board. Oh!
Ooh.
So that gifted board that we were talking about from Ian Walsh to Ty Simpson Kane, now in 2 pieces.
Yeah, now it's a hood ornament.
Yeah, this is an education of sorts for Ty, and he's going right to the master class and getting his master's in big wave surfing.
Perfect pickup, though. I mean, he's learned that. That is something you train for. You see that as a surfer, you got to come in, you've got to raise your right hand. The driver is going to be coming in on that left side specifically because the throttle is on your right hand. And so you have to have that as your control mechanism. So the driver will always come in on that side. So you have to have your arm up. Your left arm's going to be up so that you can grab it as he comes in. I mean, you'll see every time you're going to be driving coming in so that you don't lose that throttle hand.
I think there's some valuable knowledge, Pete. Again, can you run us through that drill?
Yes. So you've got, you know, you see him, he's raising his hand. It's always going to be the left hand.
Always the left hand.
Yeah, always the left hand. And the reason being is that your driver has to grab him with your left hand. So left hand on left hand, it's going to be that grab of the forearm, and it's going to be a whip of your right arm onto the sled. And as much as you quickly as possibly can do it, you get yourself onto the sled and out of danger's way.
And it's that forearm grab as well. It's not the hand, because
it's anything. Forearm, you're grabbing anything.
But the forearm is basically a little easier to get a hold of. It's going to be a much tighter grip.
And we'll see some of these guys. I mean, you'll see loops. That's one of those things too, is you'll see this loop that has rubber around it, so it sees its shape. And that was developed actually by the Navy SEALs, because that's how they used to pick up their drivers off of their Zodiacs, is that they would have these loops off. And so they're taking, again, out of other aspects of your learning process, how do you quicken the in and out time? And that's one of the ways to do it.
Well, now that all the dust is settled and all the scores are in, we can give you the situation. It's Lucas Cianca in the lead, Tyler Laurent in second, Koa Rothman in third in advancing position. 3 minutes on the countdown.
Hey, Kai, but whenever you see two lifeguards, this is a great replay for a second there. Whenever you see two lifeguards greet each other, they always handshake, forearm to forearm.
Yes.
It's like it is the lifeguard handshake.
It's the lifeguard code right there.
It's the lifeguard code. And in regards to the way the jet skis drive,
the wave. The learning continues for Ty Simpson Kane. He's saddled up too, man. This kid is brave. Were you doing that?
A lot of courage right there. But yeah, another thing with the picking up, it looks like the guys are getting an update there as to what the situation is, maybe.
Yeah, that's our water marshal giving him all the numbers.
But when you do come in to pick up somebody, how aggressively you make your pickup is directly determined by how much time you have. So if you got a whitewater right behind you, you have very little time, which means you're going to have to take higher risk, come in hotter, try and make a very quick pickup. If you've got more time, you can slow down, be more precise and surgical and patient, and make sure you execute properly. But sometimes they don't have that luxury to be careful like that.
Most of the time.
Generally you have about 3 seconds, and that's the drill between both the surfers and the water safety team. And they're both in communication with these drills. It's really important to practice, even on flat days.
Yeah, and you'll see that's loop system is not on every boat. Some drivers like it, some people don't. They like to have the ability of having the touch. So as a surfer, you're just trained. There's a couple things you got to use. The tap on the head, hey, I'm okay. I could use your help, but I'm okay. I'm not injured, right? That's the main concern. So they can come in that moment and go, okay, I don't have to grab him sensitively. I can grab him, grab that forearm, and get him on the boat. So ultimately, your communications can be done unverbal. You know, you can do it by signs.
Yep. And when these guys come in, those decisions that are being made are experience, right? The rider knows what he has to do, the driver knows what he has to do, and it's almost, like you say, it's an unwritten communication and teamwork.
But it's a code
to make it work.
Okay, so then you get the BRAG, right? Big Wave Risk Assessment Group, which is a group of big wave riders that was developed
Wait a minute. I'm sorry to cut you off. What happened out here? It looks like we have an interference call.
Oh!
So interference has been called on Tyler Laurent, bumping Tori Meister into third and advancing position. We're going to get more on that news of what happened in that heat to deem that interference call on Tyler Laurent, Peter.
Wow. Okay. But I was just to elaborate quickly on the end of the story there, is that code can translate across the globe, right? You know, if you're sitting in the pit and you're holding your arm up, you know that boat's going to come by and it's going to pick you up on that same exact scenario pickup, whether you know the person that's coming to get you or not.
Well, again, advancing Lucas Cianca, Koa Rothman, and Tori Meister. Tyler Laurent deemed with an interference. We're going to get more on that, but we have our semifinals set here at the CbdMd Jaws Big Wave Championships. There's all the numbers, Pete.
Well, nice work from Lucas. He was the red jersey, the high seed, so he takes it. Great job by Koa Rothman. to get through into his heat. And Tori Meister, as much as he took the beatings there, he is going to have to take some serious rest time before you jump into semifinal number 2, which is only 45 minutes away.
More as we continue on. When we return, it's going to be the semifinals here at Jaws. We are back in Peahi, Maui. This is the CbdMd Jaws Big Wave Championships, and we are into the semifinals. Top 3 surfers moving on into the final stage.
You know, looking back at that last heat, the one thing that jumps out at me about Lucas Tianka, he's the first surfer today, in my interpretation, that looked like he was having fun. I mean, he just looked like he was playing with it and having such a good time. And you don't see that very often out here. But that lightness, that fun, I'd put him up on my favorite board right now.
Oh, I think he's one of the most dynamic big wave surfers of the moment. We got 6 dynamic big wave surfers in the semifinals right now, Peter. Eli Olsen's in red, Russell Bjerke in blue. Kai Rothman's out there in the white jersey. Kai Lenny, a top performer out here in the black jersey. Ian Walsh, a former winner here, is in the yellow jersey. And Nick Von Rupp rounds out the field in the green jersey.
Can you say stacked? Yes, I can. It is very stacked. This one, I can't pick a clear winner. I love what Eli did in his first round. I think that he saved a lot of energy. So he's going to be able to come into this one a bit fresh.
Coming in hot, Kai Lenny scratching into this one. It's going to be a late drop for Lenny. Long line down the face. Kai controls it and hangs on before getting bucked off by a mountain of white water.
I think these guys are going to have to start to calculate it even a little bit more for the wind. It seems like it's cranked up maybe just another 4 or 5 miles an hour.
Which translates to what up the face?
Air. There's going to be some air drops like we've already seen, so it's not new, but now it's going to be every wave, and it's going to have to be factored in. I think even on the easier drops, you're still potentially looking at going airborne for a split second.
Look at the intent of Kai Lenny. Right when the buzzer sounds, he just was quick. He's going to play the game right now, guys. He knows he wants to get a score on the board. He has an aggressive approach, and I think that's going to pay off for Kai Lenny, Pete.
I would agree, and I think that his experience in the wind is unparalleled in this field.
Great point.
Because he comes from an amazing windsurfing background, so obviously he deals with the wind and surfing on waves with the same style of wind. You know, and if you've seen some of his footage, I mean, he's a great windsurfer. Obviously, downwind paddling, all of those things, you can use that wind to your advantage in a way that this guy has that crossover experience that no one else does.
Well, if there was a miles program for competition, I think Kai would be a gold member at this point. He competes in kiting, windsurfing, shortboard surfing, even longboard waterman comps, and perhaps best known for big wave surfing competition.
Well, he did have the quickest ever of the Kawai channel across. He foiled across it in, what, 3 hours, 3.5 hours?
He set a record foiling across the Kaiwi channel. That's the channel between Maui and Molokai. He's also paddled it for a record there in that race as well. Look at this in slow-mo.
Again, look where he is on his surfboard. This is, again, where his experience and his ability to communicate with his shaper to develop these surfboards that he's riding here, and it comes from all of those crossover sports that he has, and he is super confident in his equipment. He does use full deck grip as well. He is also using the Maui fins, Ordinez surfboards, which are a very unique design in those boards, being that they have concaves and edges. And
again, coming from windsurfing too.
Yes. So, I mean, again, that's why you see the comfort level that he's carrying here, is because of the experience here at Maui.
Kailani, hometown, right up the road in Paia. So this is basically a short drive for Kailani if he wants to surf Jaws.
Yeah, it's his backyard, literally. It's his backyard. He spends as much time up here as anybody does, and just that familiarity creates a level of comfort. And when you're comfortable in a given situation, it allows you to be much more aggressive, because you feel like you can do this. You feel like you know this. It's got that familiar, and you have that experience, and you have that knowledge. And I mean, we just keep going back to how much time he spends in the wind and the familiarity of what wind does to your board, the bumps that it creates, coming over the back of a bump versus the front of a bump, and how that interaction and relationship will work with your board, and at different speeds. And there's so many little micro variances that if you don't spend a lot of time kiting, windsurfing, paddleboarding, you're not as familiar with the dynamics of a bump. And while that might seem really simple or trivial, it's not. Because every single bump in the water can either work for you or against you.
Well, Chumbo put on a show in heat number 4. Let's hear from Lucas Chianca. He's on the boat with Dave Awesome.
A very commanding win from this young man. Great job, by the way. Okay, what we see is a lot of wind out there. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Every wave you took off on, you were in the air.
Yeah, actually I like this wind, but not that strong. And this wind is always like this at Jaws, so we have to deal with that. I like to do some airdrops, so helps me, but sometimes doesn't help. Sometimes I just fly away.
What you did was you flew away with the wind. Great job with that. Talk about your caddy. I see somebody else in your corner.
For sure. My caddy is my little brother. I'm super happy to have him right here. I feel I was missing this guy. I was in Portugal. He was here in Oahu. And to be here with him, it just feels so good and feel like family vibe.
Great job. The comfort level is showing. Once again, you're ripping, kid. Keep it up. Great job. Back to you guys in the booth.
Thank you. And that insight there, younger brother Joao Chianca, who was on Oahu for the Vans Triple Crown of Surfing, where he's a rookie in that competition, put on a great show at both Haleiwa and Sunset. And Chumbo certainly is just, you can see his stoke. He genuinely wants this. By Chumbo.
There's no doubt. And the fact that, it looks like we've got a
drop here from Nick Von Rupp. Chooses a left, and I don't know if that was a good decision because he just got gobbled at the bottom.
It almost looked for a split second like he wasn't sure which way he was going. I couldn't figure out if he was committing to the right or to the left. Ultimately, he went left, but I think he made that decision too late and ended up getting steamrolled. But back to Chianca, having your brother there, I mean, let's face it, big wave surfing is such a psychological game. Talent, yes, it's important. I would never contradict that. but it's a matter of will. And sometimes you have to will and want and commit to getting yourself over the edge, handling the poundings that come with it. And if you can get in that right mindset, in that space where, as we can see, now he looks like he was committed to that left the whole time. I would have liked to have seen a little higher line across it to start with, but sometimes the conditions of the water surface don't allow you to make an aggressive turn that would set a better line, a la Maui glass.
View from up above. And this is going to be Russell Berkey. Just pulls in, gets smashed, but going for it, the young Australian, Pete.
Yeah, I remember Jerry Lopez saying somewhere in one of his interviews that sometimes wiping out in the barrel is the safest place if you had to pick a place to wipe out. It affords you maybe the opportunity to get under it and not get pounded, or if you are going to get pulled along with it, you've already got some water to help cushion the blow from the lip.
Well, you're also inside of the energy rather than underneath it.
Right.
It is optimum, yes, in those situations, although you can do a quick trip to the bottom.
Yeah.
Through the bottom of those barrels. If you see another broken board, I mean, that's how many already today. I mean, I can think at least
like
7.
6 or 7, yeah.
Yeah, easy. I mean, and they're breaking like twigs, and these things are glassed with a massive amounts of glass. They're strong, basically. It'd be very difficult to try and break one.
Kai Lenny, the little progressive approach. Medium-sized wave, gets a top turn in. Kai Lenny opened up with a 3.77, which we doubled for a 7.54. He has now got his backup score. He got busy early in the heat. I think Kai Lenny's playing the game best out of the other 5 surfers in the water. What do you think, Peter?
I would say yes. I mean, again, strategically going, he went deeper than anyone early in the heat. He took a wave that paid the price of being a bit too deep. But now the freedom of having that first wave allows him to kind of take these other waves on the inside, building that wave count. I mean, he's got 32 minutes now to get himself a big solid set wave. So this has freed him up.
Yeah, and you know, I mean, he recognized the situation. That wasn't going to be a high-scoring wave if he tried to pull in. Like, I mean, had Russell made that, that would have been perhaps one of the highest-scoring tube rides of the day, but it didn't
open up.
out.
Yeah.
No, just a fraction too deep. But yeah, Kai's a great competitor. He's playing what is given, what's dealt to him, and that's all you really can do. And so, because that wave wasn't going to provide a barrel to get into, you take it to the next strategic move, which is top to bottom surfing, trying to make it progressive.
Look at these water views that we're getting here, just really illustrating how much of the Pacific Ocean is moving here when these swells hit the reef at Pe'ahi, Pete.
Yes, it is. This is 17-second intervals. The buoys have held strong in that same range, which is great here. You know, you can get sometimes 20 seconds, or you know, anywhere of those much bigger intervals between waves, and those make it, they move faster. Those swells move faster, and that makes it much more difficult to approach. Not to say that these guys aren't having trouble at the moment, because we've seen probably half to half of major wipeouts to minks.
Yeah, and with those wipeouts comes safety. And for more on the safety, let's go out to the boat and Dave Wassel.
Thank you very much, Kaipo. It was a fateful day right after the 2010 Mavericks event that the life jacket came to fruition. Shane Dorian had a horrendous wipeout, near-death experience. On the ride home, on the plane, he saw them pulling the vest. He goes, wait, something just went off in my head. I'm gonna come up for the life jacket with CO2 cartridges. This one, there's 2 varying types. This one that Koa's wearing is made by Quicksilver. It's actually got 4 pulls. Very, very easy to understand. And then on the side, a deflate. This one that Ty Simpson-Connie's wearing is actually made by Patagonia, in which you pull up, you got 2 pops, 1 pop pulling down. So maybe a little less confusing for some, but the main thing is nobody who's wore that jacket since 2010 has passed away. We have had tragedies, but nobody wearing a jacket has passed away. That he's 15, he's 25, years of knowledge with these 2 guys, and they are champions to be reckoned with. Think smart, be smart, surf smart. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave, for that insight on our safety equipment and the inflation vests. Our surfers need those inflation vests to get to the surface. It was a key breakthrough thanks to Shane Dorian.
Well, and he developed it with Billabong. As we watch
Ian Walsh dropping into this one. Tippy toes there, but he gets blasted on the bottom. Ooh. Now the inflation vest comes into play, Pete.
He is. You saw that he was trying to make that wave, did not want to give up on it. He was doing everything he could, and there, the jersey over his head, looking like Beavis, but he's good. Got a chuckle out of you, Dave. First one of the day.
Wow, I mean, making light of a heavy situation here with Ian Walsh, and it's good to see he came right back up to the surface after that brutal wipeout.
So again, he's been working with his sponsor at Patagonia. They have developed their inflation vest, which is made to be inside of their wetsuit. So you can wear it inside and the handles come out of your wetsuit. It's developed that way so that you can wear any other wetsuit you want around it, whereas the Quicksilver vest is made with neoprene and outside, you wear it outside. So the two different styles and approaches, they both are very similar in the sense they use the 36-gram CO2 cartridges, which you use an actuator that pops them open so that they can be used to inflate the vest. Very, very functional. And this beautiful wave here was very well ridden by Ian Walsh. I mean, even though he didn't make that wave, just to get down the face on that steep drop was incredible.
That was quite a feat, like you said, Pete, just to get to the bottom, to get to the scene of the accident, unfortunately.
You see, look at that. I mean, that's the wind just tail tapping Chris Christensen. Look at the tip of the nose, just 6 inches left above the waterline to keep that board going down the face. I mean, he did get out in front of the whitewater, but see the convergence there? Pretty much impossible to be able to ride out of the bottom of it.
I was able to have a conversation with him yesterday, and I asked him just that very question. What is going through your mind when you know basically worst case scenario is about to unfold? And he said, first, go to that place of calmness, knowing that you know, all heck is about to break loose. It don't help if you start losing your composure. So first, establish a calm mindset, go to your training, trust and rely on that, and that gives you confidence to stay calm, which allows you to, again, utilize your training, and you just kind of ping pong back and forth between those two things to manage that unknown of how long you're going to be underwater. Stay calm. That gives you the best chance.
I love that. And, you know, both of you guys big wave riders, Pete, and you have the physical training, but the one thing, the gene that both you, Dave, and Pete share is that mental ability to be calm in hectic situations. Not everyone can do that.
Well, it's an experience that I went to the panic mode. I mean, I was at a new surf spot. I was tow surfing. It was in an area I wasn't real comfortable with. We were just experimenting and adventuring, and I got held down, and I got put in a situation that I'd never experienced before, and I panicked. I literally felt that panic, and I was like, I will never go there again. And what you have to do is more training, you know, gaining more experience, whatever it is, training that much harder, sharing it with the folks like this. I mean, I was lucky enough to, you know, surf Mavericks my whole life and then come to these guys and hang out with Dave Kalama and Laird Hamilton and Double D and learn from them. And so all of that gives me that extra confidence that allows you not to panic in those situations.
Well, you know what we learned too? Flotation was good. And the way we learned that was not having it initially.
Yeah.
And the first 6-8 years we surfed here, the only way you got back to the surface? Swimming. And around 2000 was when Paul Miller, who used to use a ski vest, a water ski vest for flotation every time he would go, and we'd give him a hard time for it. Anyway, it was like, you know what, maybe that's not such a bad idea after all. And we started incorporating flotation, but it was already like what the water skiers used. And so that helped you get back to the surface. But it's not compatible with prone surfing or normal paddling surfing. So that's why I think the necessity and the accomplishment that Shane Dorian did allows you to paddle surf without that flotation to inhibit your ability to paddle, yet have it there when you need it, right?
And also the air and the ability to get that much air. Now you turn into a beach ball and your flotation is way more than any static flotation would give you.
Yeah.
Well, 25 minutes still left in this heat. Kai Lenny on top. Can he stay on top? We're going to find out when we return to more action from Jaws here at the CbdMd Jaws.
This event is presented by CbdMd, the official CBD partner of the Jaws Big Wave Championships, and by Michelob Ultra, the official beer of the World Surf League.
Here we are on Maui, an epic day of big wave surfing at the CbdMd Jaws Big Wave Championships. Kai Lenny fin drifting down a drop, skipping all the way for a finish here. He's out in the lead and will continue to be in that position. Kuiper Girl along with Peter Mill and Dave Kalama cutting to Makua Kai Rothman. Makua stalling and surviving at Peahi.
Nicely done there from Makua Kai. Thought he was going to get in a situation there where it was looking a bit dicey, but able to escape out into the channel. So nicely done there. A little flare of excitement.
Yeah, he disappeared into the white room there for a split second. But, yeah, kind of surprisingly almost. I thought he was going to get mowed there, but the fact that he came shooting out of it was pretty impressive. And Kai's wave, to me, I don't know if you're seeing the same thing, Pete, but Kai looks like he's in compete mode. He's making smart decisions is what I mean by that. He's putting himself in the right place and giving himself multiple opportunities.
I'll tell you, though, it feels like the winds have picked up significantly. I mean, we're starting to see white caps now, so it's definitely blowing. And this is where the experience of the surfers from Maui are going to have that much more. And paddling into this wave is one of those guys.
Ian Walsh, a veteran out here, has to deal with a little froth, cuts through that froth, clean water in front of him, nice line. And a completion for Ian Walsh. Already has a 3.67 to his credit, and he's going to get a backup score, or maybe even vault over that score. Last number drops in for Kai Lenny, a 4.7. Kai Lenny with a big lead over the rest of the pack, and another
casualty. Well, and this is Ian in compete mode. I mean, this wouldn't be a wave he would necessarily take on a free surf day, you know, but it did give him the entry, and he saw that it had some wall down the line, so he's going to be able to surf his way to the channel and get himself a number that will probably make him safe in second position. But usually don't pick a wave with a big whitewater track in it at the beginning of it.
Well, you bring up a good point, Pete. He's got 2 scores on the board now. He's got a safety net, right? He's done the majority of his work just to get those 2 scores. Now he can be a little more patient. He's got like 20 minutes left in the heat. He can start to push it, and he can raise that level. But he doesn't need to win this heat. This is just to get to the next round.
Which is the final. So it's a big heat for him, and he knows that. And competing, right? This is the deal. It's sometimes you sacrifice a little bit in wave quality just to make sure you get the numbers needed to get through.
Yeah, I think Dave's point is top 3 move to the final, and that's when it's for all the marbles. Take a look at Makua Kai Rothman on the replay.
Oh, what a bomb. That is a massive wave. And then right here, just skirting it by just millimeters, literally his back arm touching the wall of water, and he loves it. That feels good. That commitment right there with all that wind. You see it was wave number 2, which was much more groomed up the face. It didn't have to deal with all of those big ruts across the top. I mean, this is going to be the best number of the heat in my eyes.
Oh my.
Almost let him in easy, which is for how bully it got.
And that's, I think, was the fact that the number of the wave in the set. I mean, it was, in contrast, this would be the first wave of the set. And you see how much the wind affects the face. Very difficult to ride.
guy dancing with the stars right there. That was some moves to make it down the face of that thing.
And that's the comfort in the wind. I mean, he is, like you said, in total control. Even when it's just the tail, last inch of your tail is touching the water, he's able to steer it through the wind.
Yeah, that was that was impressive.
Let's get everyone caught up on the scores. Last score for Makua Kai Rothman, a 5.77, single highest wave score in the heat. We are going to double that 5.77, 11.54. Makua Kai Rothman in second place behind Kai Lenny, and Ian Walsh still in the mix with a 3.67 and a 2.3. We doubled that high number again, 3.67 equaling a 7.34. There's all the math on your screen, as well as the last column are the needs for the bottom three surfers to move into that third place and advancing position.
There we go.
Kai Lenny, again.
Oh, what did he see there?
He saw something
the ledge.
he did not like, and wisely and in control was able to pull out.
Well, he would have been one of those things where I think at that ledge, looking down and over it, would have been a full airborne ascent down the face, deciding against it.
You know
Here's
what?
the other ledge.
Quite honestly, I don't understand that decision right there. Not that it wasn't the right decision, but I'd love to hear later on today why he chose to go out, because that thing peeled the whole way. It would have seemed like that would have solidified the deal if he would have packed that thing.
Look here. So this is you can't see what he's looking down upon, and so at some point he's feeling though that this one, that ledge, just too extreme to hop off of. I mean, you can see it come up underneath, and it just lofts up. I mean, it probably would have gone into a full airborne.
I'm not questioning his decision. I just would like to know what he saw that was the impetus to make that decision.
I think what we're seeing is Kai Lenny playing the game. He has a strong lead over the rest of the pack at this point, okay? And there's still some time on the clock. He knows if he's just can pace himself and be in the top three, I guarantee you, if he makes the finals, then we're going to see him send it on every single wave.
I think you're absolutely right. He knows he's in the top spot. He doesn't need to take those risks yet. That might be our answer right there. It might be that simple. In either case, talk about a competitor. And if that was a strategic move, not a survival move, even more so what a competitor.
Pete, taking a look, talking about finals, let's take a look at our bracket and how we are going to get there. Check it out. We are in semifinal number one, top three going to the final.
Well, we saw the semifinal just get filled up there with Tori Meister, Koa Rothman, and Lucas Shianka, so the bracket is set. These semifinals will get unfolded. We'll be able to put the final in. Wondering when we'll see the women hit the lineup. And with that, we have 2 heats in the semis as well, but still, a couple heats to go here in the men's side, and I can't wait to see what unfolds in semifinal number 2.
That's right. We are set up for a final. Women's semifinals should be hitting the water right after the conclusion of the men's semifinals, and then both finals will be this afternoon. It's a day full of big wave surfing action, and it has been an entire week full of surfing action at the World Surf League.
Well, we've had a quiet Eli Olsen, had a really good first round heat, was able to get a wave right out off the hooter. Had made great wave choices, but you got to see him get a wave in this one.
Like I said, we got a great week of surfing action. Watch the Billabong Pipe Masters, where every heat is history. Possibly going tomorrow on the North Shore of Oahu at Elkai at Pipeline. We got some big heats coming up in that Pipe Masters in the round of 16. We're going to have Kelly Slater against the rookie of the year so far, Seth Moniz. That's going to be heat number 4. Heat number 6, we're going to see Nathan Florence's older brother, John Florence, against Soli Bailey. And my favorite, heat number 5, a rematch. Pete, Gabe Medina versus Kyle Ibelli.
You're not going to want to miss any of that. And what's interesting about that round of 16 is that there is a lot of matchups that are first-time matchups. I think there's only 3 or 4 heats in that round that literally guys have surfed against each other before.
What about the Heat 5, Gabe Medina and Kyle Ibelli? I want to talk about that. They had a controversial heat over in Portugal where Gabe got an interference on Kyle Ibelli, and that heat is what made our world title race so tight as we got to the Billabong Pipe Masters, and they're going to meet up again in the round of 16.
Yeah, psychologically, you're going to know that Gabe Medina is going to want to have payback in a big wave. Kaio's going, you know what? I got nothing to lose, and I just want to get barreled. And so he's going to go out there and take every good wave he can.
Well, Kaio Bailey's been kryptonite for both Gabe Medina and John Florence when we look at competitive surfing history for the Brazilians. So one of the many storylines that we have this entire week, the best we can surf on the World Surf League.
So I'm catching only 5 surfers. So one of the 6 surfers trying to, there we go. That's Nate, nope, that's not the, it's the jersey color, but that's Nate Florence.
Yeah, Nate Florence will be semifinal number 2.
It looks like there might be something coming in from the horizon that could be interesting for these guys. I know they've been patient, and they're kind of tightly grouped, quite honestly, which is surprising to me. I would think with how much variation there is in the peak moving around, somebody might take a chance and separate themselves from the group.
Massive set. Look at this one coming, guys. This is going to be a doozy. Wave number 2.
Go time here at the CbdMd Jaws Big Wave Championships. Mountains of water about to hit the reef at Pe'ahi.
This is, to me, one of the biggest sets we've seen. Let's see if anyone can line it up.
Nah, it looked like it moved way up on the reef towards the north side, and everybody's further down towards the west.
Look at that thing just cave across. Woo-hee!
Beautiful wave, nonetheless.
What do you think, guys? Was that wave paddleable, or was that a toe-only wave?
Well, from what I've seen, anything's paddleable. It's crazy what guys are sending it on. You know, with an empty wave like that and how intense that thing just broke kind of reminds me of what we used to know this place as. Originally, it was introduced to me as the Atom Blaster.
The Atom Blaster.
Because of waves like that. Then there was a sign on the cliff that was called, or said, the Dragon's Tail.
Wow.
It also used to be called Domes because of a geometric house at the top of the road. But the Hawaiian name is obviously Pe'ahi, and the more commonly known name, Jaws, for very obvious reasons.
Yes.
But this has gone through quite the evolution of names and surf styles.
And
originally not even thought of as a paddle wave, and here we are a couple decades later, and it is primarily a paddle-in spot. And so I never saw that come in.
It's interesting to me, Dave, because Pe'ahi is like a waving, or a summoning too.
Yes.
So this is summoning the best big wave surfers in the world. And look at this one.
See,
everyone took a look at it, but nobody wanted that one.
And just no entry there, you know. And this is where the wind is becoming a major factor.
So Pete, we've had 2 really large waves come in further up the reef. I'd be surprised if these guys don't start to migrate up a little bit further and see if another one of those comes. Because you get one of those, welcome to the finals.
Yes, pretty much, yeah.
Right?
Unless you don't make it. which is a factor.
That's where that sense of denial kicks in. Nothing bad's going to happen. I can do this. And while I'm joking about it, in a sense, it's actually a very real factor in being a really good big wave rider is that sense of denial that anything's going to go wrong. You have to believe when you flick that switch and commit, you have to believe everything is going to work, because if you don't have any chance at all. And even when you do believe, it's maybe 50-50 at best.
And look at the relaxed mindset, Pete, of Kai Lenny.
Yeah, he doesn't look like he has a care in the world, does he? I mean, he's in the lead at this moment. He's making sure that the GoPro's got, you know, the lens is clean, so you get the images are clear. So he's doing all his work.
He's giving it that little lens treatment, the lick treatment for the lens, so it's a clear shot. I don't know how you do that or even keep track of that and compete and try and move into the finals at Pe'ahi. He can multitask.
It might be one of those things too where you kind of...
The new generation.
Yeah, you focus on those little things to keep your head out of what it could be.
I'd say Kai's in that millennial generation. I'm in the old school. One thing at a time, please. And big waves, just catching one of these big waves is enough. You know, while we have a little break in the action and we are at the Jaws Championship, how about the women coming up? They've seen some incredible rides at this point. I'm sure they're sitting over in the channel, and those butterflies that you spoke about earlier haven't been released yet.
No.
What do you think's going through their mind?
Yeah, I would say that it's hard. I've felt the situation where you're in heat number 4 and you've seen the wipeouts and you've seen the successful rides. I mean, psychologically, you got to be over there basically psyching yourself up.
Pete, I hate to move on, but it looks like there's another big set coming in, but this one is coming in down at the West Bowl, and they've probably all moved up more to the north end. So it just goes to show, when you think you've got it figured out, Mother Nature throws you a curveball.
What do you see, Pete?
A set. Let's see if it can make it into the lineup. It is swinging wide, as you had mentioned, Dave. You can see on the screen there, to your left of the screen is the West region. So you might see maybe a Nick Von Rupp, who has been spocking the lefts, maybe make an entry in here.
Boy, it looks like the boats in the channel might want to pay attention on this one.
Of course, we have an entire armada, our officials boat, our medical boat, our transport boat, as well as all of our safety teams here in the channel at Jaws, at Pe'ahi.
That was an odd wave. It got over the top of the reef where I would have thought it was going to break with how much it was showing, and has moved way to the inside and split into 2 peaks.
Yeah, but that's that west angle. You can see it breaking onto the reef, and it just swallows up itself.
I can't remember who made mention of it. It might have been Kai. How much the waves are moving in and out relative to the sets and the direction that they're breaking from. And I think that wave right there shows you where the line of whitewater is about a good 100 to 150 yards inside of the surfers. And we've seen waves probably break 50 yards outside.
And that is our compound, that is our judging, and that is where we're bringing you all of this action from on the cliff top over here, overlooking Pe'ahi. A great vision from master helicopter pilot Don Shears.
Don,
Maui's own bald eagle.
He is. He's amazing. And a lot of it's experience here working with you guys, but he's helped keep Pe'ahi clean, right? Anytime there's ever been a skis or anything, we always get it all cleaned up and picked up out of here if there's been any accidents that have happened, and it happens all the time. But also for keeping surfers safe, but also bringing you some of the most epic images ever out of this break.
And when you say keeping it clean, Pete, what's that process?
Well, I mean, you basically wait for it to get small. You don't want to do it when it's massive. But
as if a ski crashes.
Yes, a ski crashes, and it gets out, and they basically float up onto the rocks. And so we get guys who come down here and clean up the whole region because we have broken boards. We get that happening all the time. And caring for the environment, but that's getting those boats out of here. It's part of your responsibility if you have a boat here to clean that up. So Don, you can hire him. He'll get you a net. They come down right along the cliffside. They pack everything into the net and pull it out of here. And I've seen it happen many, many times, and it's incredible to see it done. But Don, who's bringing you these images, is by far the best pilot. And it's not an easy place to fly because of all the wind. I mean, you've got these cliffs, you've got these wind will go up the cliff, it'll go bring you downdrafts, all sorts of stuff here, but he's got it pretty dialed in and knows exactly how to take care of it.
Yeah, and we keep mentioning Don's name. He is synonymous. If you've ever seen the Pe'ahi images, and there it is right there, with the yellow helicopter in the shot, which half the time it is, that's Don Shear. And a lot of times he's riding the waves as much as the surfer is, because he's actually below the lip of the wave. That's how close he flies to the surface of the water. There's been times I've driven Laird tow surfing, and I'm actually looking down at the rotors of Don flying his helicopter.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. I mean, he won't be doing that today. Doesn't really necessarily need to do that, but ultimately, to get some pretty incredible imagery, I mean, you can't. He is a very critical part of this event in so many dynamic different ways.
I mean, if he doesn't say we've got the A-team assembled here today, nothing does, because he is the A-team.
Well, we're under 5 minutes. Kai Lenny out in the lead, followed by Makul Kai Rothman and Ian Walsh, all looking for their spot in the final here.
You know, an interesting thing is happening right now. I don't know if it's the tide, the character of the swell, the fluctuation of the lifespan of the swell, but we've seen a couple of massive waves still come in, but it seems like the downtime is more significant. It's not as consistent as it was earlier. That has got to be factoring in to where these guys are going to place themselves on the reef, how patient they can be. And they might have to do some strategic adjustment here that we're getting near the end of this heat. But if I were sitting in the channel right now, I'd really be factoring that in and trying to figure out what the best play is.
Yeah, no, I would agree. And being that you say, oh, I'll just go in there, like, for example, an Eli Olsen, who has been, at this point, has not found his wave yet, he would probably strategically wait it out because it would take one big massive wave, whereas in contrast to like a Russell Bjerke looking for a 3.24, he may not need to be on one of those more massive waves. He could start to skirt in a little bit, but the risk of doing that, you're playing cat and mouse, which we've heard before. As we look in, there's Paige Alms, who is the queen of Pe'a, he would say.
Yeah, Paige Alms with 2 titles here, 2016 and 2017. So she would be, the top pick as we get into the women's competition following the men's semifinals.
A lot of experience dealing with this wind as well, but not necessarily something that they would always go out and compete in, or go out and surf in. But I mean, today, looking at the way the winds are, there would be a good pack out there, even if we weren't running competition.
Oh, absolutely. Today is, again, it's all relative, but a little bit user-friendly. Because it had that glassy water earlier, because there's no white caps out on the horizon, or they're just starting, the north component allows you a little more of an opportunity to paddle in a little safer on some of them, not necessarily all of them. Yeah, there'd be a lot of people out here, and Paige would be one of the main players.
Well, we're down to 2 minutes and 15 seconds on the countdown. We do have some lines on the horizon. We do have some energy that is focusing here on Jaws. We'll see if this is going to be the last chance for Russell Bjerke, Nick Von Rupp, and Eli Olsen. Clock ticking down to the 2-minute mark. Pete.
Crunch time for Russell Bjerke, Nick Von Rupp, and Eli Olsen. Ian Walsh would be looking and competing here. I wouldn't see a whole lot of defense coming out of Ian, but I'm sure he's got himself deep on the peak. As you can see, he's in that yellow jersey. But it looks like we may see an opportunity, if these waves transpire, to see if someone in last-minute heroics.
It looks to me like the tide is getting higher. I can't confirm that.
It is. It was a 9:30 low tide.
That's right. It's 11:21 local time here on Maui, and our high tide is going to be around the 3 p.m. mark. So we do have a filling tide at the moment.
It looks like things are rolling in a little further to the inside before they break, and that might be because of the higher tide and a little more water on the reef right now.
And we could have that swell kind of met its peak, and could conceivably start to see that downslide slightly. But I mean, as a competitor, and you're sitting out there, you're thinking, okay, oh yeah, the high tide, you're trying to read it to make your move further in. It's always the riskiest thought process in your head. You're like, oh, maybe if I just move in a little further, I might find one. But there's always that
risk.
And
you might, but it might be on your head.
Yeah.
Well, it's 30 seconds, so if anyone's going to make a move inside, it's going to have to be right now.
Yeah, I don't see a set there, Kipes. I think we're going to see it roll out as it is. And you think about the top 3 in this first semifinal, they're all very accomplished and successful big wave competitors. Kai Lenny's a winner on the big wave tour. Makuakai Rothman is a winner, 2-time winner. Ian Walsh, a winner. So the youngsters, unfortunately, getting into the semifinals, but it looks like the veterans are going to get through.
Yeah, you're right. You are. The veterans on to the final. We have our first 3 finalists set here at the CbdMd Jaws Big Wave Championship. Welcome back to the CbdMd Jaws Big Wave Championships, and we look at our partners over at Surfline and the forecast creating this swell, Pete.
Well, we saw it on the maps. It'd been there about a week. A lot of it, there was the consistency in the forecast maps. And that's one thing you have to look at when you're looking at big wave swells in order to make the call here for this event. And you see the deep red has shown up right here as we see today. 7 a.m., 10 a.m., 30 to 50 feet. So the peak was around that 10, 11 a.m. as we're seeing it start to taper off, but slowly as it goes into the afternoon. And that interval drops slightly into 16 seconds, which will make it a little more approachable. But what has happened as that wind has increased, which is exactly what the forecast says there, at 13 knots early up to 25 knots in the afternoon, would translate here at Peahi. Accelerating up the face with 50-mile-an-hour wind.
Of course, we want you to watch on WorldSurfLeague.com or the WSL app, but you can make your way to a cliffside to catch all of this action as we check in on Lucas Chianca. Jumbo on the first ride, taking a left, and he's put a number on the board. We start with 45 minutes on the clock for semifinal number 2, down to 42 minutes and 20 seconds. Counting down, we're waiting for that opening score for Jumbo.
I love seeing him utilize the left. We haven't seen many of those today, and that's his front side, so it didn't look like he was having any trouble with his backside, but I'd love to see him take advantage of the left. I mean, when I was riding here a couple years ago, Pete, wasn't it? Left was my direction of choice, and you can see really nice bottom turn.
And the reason why you did that a lot?
The rights were just packed. It was crazy. It was chaos at the right. And there was a bit of tranquility and calmness over at the left.
And I feel like this is exactly what Lucas is doing as well, is that he's found himself a little space where he can look at lefts and not have to worry about his other competitors and pick up some early scores.
So, Pete, we looked at the Surfline forecast, and with that swell changing and a little bit of a decrease, what's that going to do to the lefts?
Well, it'll open him up. I mean, he's got to worry about the wind no matter what. That's always going to be a factor. Ooh.
Saw a little paddle there, and a couple of surfers potentially getting tangled up as we see that Lucas Chianca opened up with a 2.27. We're going to double that wave score for 4.54.
I mean, we don't really know. If we're hypothetically thinking that, okay, there's going to be a decrease in swell, you're going to have less consistency, but that doesn't always translate that way. I mean, yeah, you're going to see it, but you're having wind blowing over an ocean to create these waves. So at some point, it might be blowing 50 knots and 45 to 50 knots where, oh no, worst case scenario. That was Nick Lamb, who was paddling for that wave as well. Looked like, was that the green jersey as well? The far left, right?
I think it was Billy Kemper in the white jersey jumping off of his board.
Oh,
and Nick Lamb got the brunt of it.
2 times we've seen him now in a worst case scenario where he is underneath a 20-foot slab of water and had to take it on the head.
Yeah, Kemper already on the sled, but Nick Lamb is the guy who really paid. There's his board into the rocks.
Oh, what a bummer. I mean, he's already had 1 board in. This is the second. This may take him out of this one, depending on what he has for a quiver in the channel.
Well, that is absolutely how you don't want to start a heat, by losing your board, caught inside, already being taxed because of being held down underwater, right? But there is 40 minutes on the clock. There is theoretically plenty of time to recover, reset yourself, regain that composure. Hopefully he's got another board in the channel. I'm sure he would. And get back out on the peak.
There's a few boards out there that, generally I've seen over the years of doing this that, they're looking for it right now. But there is definitely some pretty nice friends there that'll lend some boards. But anytime you're using a borrowed board, it can be a little bit daunting.
Well, I mean, I know I'm sure every surfer's experienced this, to spend any time in the water. There are boards that you fall in love with, and there's an emotional connection to a board, and it almost feels magic.
Especially when you're dealing with waves like this. You become very intimate with those boards that you really love and had your ride over your life.
Hold the thought right now. Big news, interference on Nick Lamb. We saw those 2 surfers get tangled up on that paddle. If you recall that was an interference deemed on Nick Lamb. We're just seeing it popping up on our scoreboard right now.
So would that be considered a paddling interference, I would assume? Non-priority, which generally the punishment for that is half of your second scoring ride.
So in other words, at this point, he's got nothing to lose. You might as well just send it.
Yeah, if he has a surfboard to ride.
If he has a surfboard to use. But like I was saying, every now and then you come across one of those magic boards, and I've had those go up on the rocks, and you go up and get them. If they're still in one piece, even with dings and all, as long as that thing is still rideable, it's worth going in there and trying to get it, because you do form that partnership in a sense, and you trust that board, and trust is massive when you're trying to tackle waves of this magnitude.
But it's interesting though. I mean, in competition, you're not necessarily going to go climb up the rocks right now and go grab that board, but the longer it sits in that situation, obviously the more damage that sustains to it. So at this point, you'd hope that there's some people down there that can help you out, grab it real quick, but that's not always a guarantee.
No, and those rocks, while in concept, I'll just run up there and go grab them. In reality, smart people don't do that.
True.
Those rocks are for real, and they will eat you alive.
Well, that, and you have surging of whitewater flying up the rocks at any moment in time. You could just have yourself thrown up the rocks and then pulled back down and then thrown back up again.
10, 12-foot walls of whitewater slamming into Volkswagen buses, for that matter, size rocks, and gaps to get your legs caught in. It's just a horrible scenario. So if you do go in and try and chase a board, boy, be careful.
There's Nick Lamb.
So he's in the channel boardless. I don't know if he's got the news from our water marshal guys that he has been deemed with an interference in this heat.
Do we have who was on with? Well, so we'll try and figure out this information for you folks at home. But there is definitely an interference that has been called. As you see, Billy Kemper. No rides yet, as we see. Oh, late drop, Nathan Florence. That was nasty. Back spinning his way down the face.
And there's one more to kind of top off the tank, if that wasn't enough already.
Oh, as we pan back, it looked like open ocean, but no, it is another huge, massive wall of water going to land right on top.
Now, it looks like he traveled in quite a bit. So again, that flotation, while you might think, can be a hindrance because you get carried so far. The further in you travel, oh, it looks like we got a nice ride right there.
Billy Kemper. And there you go, seeing Don Shear getting low. He was actually in the middle of the shot as we saw Billy take off on that wave. So great start here for Billy. We've seen that in the past, choosing waves number 2 or 3 in the set as we watch
Another
still taking the poundings. Nathan Florence.
So we'll be waiting for the sled to come in and pick up Nathan Florence. 35 minutes and dropping into this one. Lucas Cianca Chumbo.
Wow.
Big bottom turn, kicking out, looking aggressive, and just takes that inertia to paddle into safety of the channel.
That is so cool. I mean, did you see how he laid that over on his rail? I thought he was going to do a straight up hit off the top on his backhand. I mean, it looked to me like he was, I mean, and he's one of those guys that will try doing that type of maneuver. He really wants to bring that level of big wave surfing into maneuvers and surf it like it's a 4-foot wave.
Check it out here, Pete.
Tail drops once again. I mean, that again is just part of what he does. He does it every wave. And you see he's trying to go straight up, but I love that he used the inertia, as he had mentioned, to get himself right back out.
Well, you can see how he sets the line out of the starting gate, and under normal conditions, when you're connected to the water, you want to commit to that rail and start moving down the line. But when that board goes airborne, you can't. You've got to shift your weight to the center of that board and try and keep your feet flat, pressed against the board, and the wind is actually working with you at that point to lift the board up into you. If you can keep your feet flat, the board stays flat. When you do touch back down, you've got a chance.
This is Tori Meister.
Ooh.
Oh, he's still doing it. I love it.
Night.
Hey, what a warrior. I mean, you think about what he's had to go through today already.
Well, you know, recovering
back up
from that ankle injury as well. He's not 100%.
Oh, no, we know. He's strapped up. And, I mean, literally his first surfs happened just, a week and a half, 2 weeks ago.
Generally, I'm not a proponent of participation awards, but I'm starting to think maybe he should get one.
Another casualty, Pete.
We're almost to double digits here. I mean, that was probably at least 8 or 9. I mean, we saw boards up onto the rocks. We can consider those broken. Those we haven't really truly considered into broken. But again, another. I mean, this is how strong. And I don't understand how bodies aren't being, broken, because these are 3.5-inch thick surfboards with wood, spruce, redwood stringers, glassed with amounts of cloth, fiberglass cloth. They aren't made to break. They're made to stay in one piece. So how the bodies keep handling this over and over and over again is just incredible.
It really a testament to how strong and tough humans are.
What? Stalling for the barrel.
What?
Eyeline approach there, just going for it. Little cockroach on the exit.
Stand up.
Lucas Cianca.
Yes, thank you.
Oh,
I know
a show.
that. I must say,
this guy having fun or what?
He's having a blast, and I hope that CbdMd has a carton full of the product for all of these surfers, because they're going to need it.
That's good stuff.
Here we go. Look at this. Just stalling. Who stalls at Piahi? This guy, Lucas Cianca.
I don't recall ever seeing a proper pig dog at the rights at Piahi. I've seen Albie do the double-handed drag. Maybe that's the equivalent for a regular footer, but never that.
How much confidence does he have to put himself in that position? Here we go with Nathan Florence. Florence controlling the bottom turn and a highline carve.
I like how Nathan looks. He looks relaxed. He is one of those surfers that trains extra hard. He's actually an ambassador for the sponsor of this event. So he understands training to a point that gives him this level of comfort, because he looks like he's not fatigued at all. And he's already taken some massive wipeouts and donuts too, and he's looking good, looking relaxed. He now has picked up a second wave.
Another beautiful angle provided to us by our broadcast team here of Nathan Florence.
Maneuvers done there. Not going to be a massive number, but definitely helping a completed ride. Confidence is there. as wave number 2 already in there. I mean, thinking about the 0.93, he had to work very hard for that 0.93.
Nathan was on the cliff with us this morning, and he was genuinely excited and smiling and happy about today's challenge.
The nervous laughter.
I don't know. I don't see any nerves in Nathan Florence whatsoever.
He loves it.
He's just like, I want out there.
You know why? And not only the fact that he's very comfortable in big surf coming from the North Shore, but it's the amount of training he's done. You know, he works very hard outside of the water.
Dave, you know, preparation a lot of time equals success.
Yeah, absolutely. You do everything you can control to put yourself in the best situation, and then from there it's a little bit of roll of the dice, but the more you prepare, the stronger you are mentally, physically. You trust your equipment. You're giving yourself every possible chance to get a good outcome, but there is a little bit of you kind of play the cards you're dealt.
Well, one prepared young man is in the final, and he's on the boat also with Dave also. Let's hear from Kai Lenny.
Standing here with the last heat winner, Kai Lenny, and great throwdown. Talking about equipment, Kai, your board looks a lot shorter than the other competitors. Tell us about it.
Yeah, right now I'm riding my 9.4. I just feel like it's what I would be using on a free session day, so I'm just gonna not try to change anything up. I know a lot of the boys are on 10.4s and 10.6s, and yeah, it's probably the right call. You definitely chip in, but with this wind, once you're in the air, it's so much harder with that extra foot, and I feel so comfortable once I'm on the wave. I think my problem is I just got to catch the waves, and I had an okay success out there. It's really tricky. You're in the spot for a 25, 30-foot wave, but there's moguls that are like chest high, come out of the face, and you're like, I can go, but I may just be flying through the air and have the ride after the ride.
Okay, we talked about equipment. We've talked about your mindset. What's going on inside your belly? What are you feeding this machine today?
Oh, I just had a pretty good bean burrito before I went out, and I think that's why I did better than my first heat. Just, you know, for whatever reason, and I've tried just about everything on like a nutrition standpoint, and man, bean burritos from Taco Bell hit the spot. I just feel so content. Actually, right after this interview, I'm gonna go have another one, because I have a little bit before the finals, fortunately.
You heard it, no lies, all truth. Kai Lenny moving on into the finals. Back to you guys in the booth.
Thank you. I've had friends who have escorted him in the race across the Kaiwi Channel, that 32-mile paddle race. And during that paddle race, that is what Kai Lenny fuels himself on. Bean burritos. This is a real story, Pete.
Taco Bell bean burritos. On top of that, hey, they should be looking up to him, talking to him. He's a good proponent, because what he does on those bean burritos is truly amazing.
I'm going to start eating more bean burritos as soon as this
it's a good protein, right? It doesn't, it sticks to the gut, so you're not getting hungry. You know,
plus it's entertaining a little while after.
Yeah, that too.
You know, you kind of touched on it just a moment ago, Pete, with all the training and the preparation and everything. And why do you do that? Why do you get up early? Why do you put yourself in underwater training situations where you're really taking yourself past your limits in order to prepare for this? And it's got, I don't even know if will is the right word, or desire, or want, but something about this you fall in love with. And once that happens, you develop that will and that want to chase waves that you know are extremely dangerous, right? But that drive and that will are such an critical part of doing all the preparation.
Yeah, for the motivation of it all. As we see, ooh, Billy, he wanted that one, could not get underneath it.
Well, there is 3 finalists set already: Kai Lenny, Makua Kai Rothman, and Ian Walsh. Let's take a look at that road to the final here at CbdMd Jaws Big Wave Championships. Here's our bracket, and we have 3 finalists already set, Pete. Semifinal number 2 out in the water.
Yeah, all veterans, all winners on the Big Wave Tour in the past, so you'd have to say all favorites going in that first half of the final. The semifinal number 2, we're waiting to see how that's going to unfold. At this moment, looking at the score line, you got Billy Kemper with an okay wave and Nathan Florence with an okay wave and Lucas Shanka with a pair of twos. So waiting to see where those next three are going to fill it, but we'll know in about 25 minutes.
What an exciting day here at Pe'ahi, and we anticipate crowning a champ again here at the CbdMd Jaws Big Wave Championships. Any favorites, Dave, so far from what you've seen in competition?
Kai, such a good competitor. Looks like he's in his groove today, making good decisions and smart decisions. And Louis Tianka, I love his approach right now. He looks like he's having fun, and he's obviously got a ton of confidence in himself right now. And between those two things, I really think the ceiling is high on him.
What about you, Pete?
I like Ian Walsh. I think he's one that has prepared as hard as anyone, as we just saw the image of Kai Lenny, as equally as well as Kai has, and maybe more.
And I'm a numbers guy, so I'm going to go with Billy Kemper because he's won this event in 2018, 2016, 2015, three-time winner. It's got to be, like, if you had to set odds are probably on Billy Kemper. But one thing we know about statistics and odds, they don't always pay off.
Nothing's 100%. We know that.
And we still need to get the finalists in there, too, to really determine who the six are. Looks like Nick Lamb's made his way back out there on another board, so he's back in the lineup, and he has a chance here, because if he gets himself one crazy wave, he doesn't even need a second wave. He doesn't even have to deal with the penalty of the interference, but we'll see how that unfolds.
So we talked about the success of Billy Kemper, three-time champ out here. There was only one other champ out here, and that was Ian Walsh. He won in 2017, and he's on the boat with Dave Olson. Let's hear from Ian.
Ian Walsh, you got caught by a giant Pe'ahi bomb, sent your board destructed into the rocks, went back out on another. Changed the size at all? Stuck with the same numbers?
Yeah, the first heat I lost at 10-4 into the rocks, unfortunately, and then that semi I went to a backup 10-4 I had with a little bit different fin setup, and that was my first two waves on it, and it felt really good. So I definitely got my bell rung on the one kind of wedgy drop that I had. I thought I was like really gonna outrun the wave, but the lip threw really far into the flats and just kind of, I don't know, it was like full tomahawk after that.
Something really unique about your equipment this year, there's no wax. I see you have grip all the way up the deck. Is that because of the red Maui mud, or is this something just to give you more confidence in this wind?
Well, that red Maui mud is like ice, but yeah, the grip is a different feel for me, and that's something entirely new. But actually on my first wave in that heat, I did notice right after I stuck the drop, I remember thinking to myself, like, wow, this stuff is really good. And just kind of, I could feel my toes kind of grinding into it to not slide off the front of my board when I hit this big chop. So it's good.
You heard it right here first. Ian Walsh is the Oprah of surfing out of here at Pe'ahi. Everybody's going to give up on the wax, I guarantee it. Back to you guys in the booth.
Thank you, Dave. During that interview, we saw another former champ, Billy Kemper, get a wave, and then we saw a great make by Tori Meister, also following Billy Kemper's wave. Tori was out there in the green jersey, Billy getting his jet ski ride to the channel in the white jersey. Waves continue to pump. Pete?
Amazing adjustment for Tori Meister. I mean, he had a board that was destroyed, so I think he's had two that I think have been destroyed. So he's working on this third backup, and this board looks good. I mean, he looked confident, and he's sending it once again, which is amazing considering how much he's already had to pay today. I mean, we think about the trip over the falls this morning, and then this tail dropping. I mean, this board here looks shorter, and it looks great. So nice work there. This is his best ride of the day in my eyes. The tail dropping, landing of the air. Look at that, just beautifully done. Good wave choice too, considering that that wave didn't have a ton of chop, so there was enough wave beforehand to clean up that wall for him. And he's gonna get his best number, and he could have just as well got himself into the final.
Still waiting for that number for Tori Meister. We know the number for Billy Kemper for this wave. This was a 3.77, the hard wave.
He's got a pair of them now, and they're very similar, the two waves that he rode. They basically were big set waves, took off underneath it, got down the face, and then that was it.
A 3.73 checks in for last score for Tori Meister, and it has shuffled the standings. Lucas Chianca Chumbo has dropped below the cut mark into 4th place. Billy Kemper in 1st. Tori Meister's vaulted into 2nd place. Nathan Florence in the hot seat in that 3rd place and advancing position. 20 minutes and 45 seconds on the countdown. More lines in the water as we fly over Jaws. The world's most challenging big wave, the premier paddle big wave in the entire world here at Pe'ahi.
You think about the wave itself, it's already the most challenging, and then you add the trade winds of 25 knots, which just makes the difficulty level. It's literally like taking you're gonna go down one of the biggest and steepest mountains, and then you throw moguls of ice, moving ice. It's like basically riding an avalanche.
I mean, it seems like we're seeing more aerial drops than connected drops at this point because of the wind, which, like you just said, the difficulty just got upped another level, as if it wasn't difficult enough already. Throw in that wind, everyone's boards are popping a wheelie coming down the face, and there is a technique to that and managing that, and you know, I mean, you look at Kai, and Ian for that matter, and Louis Cianca, all seem to be very comfortable when that board leaves the water for a split second and then plant back in place and ready to go right on the mark.
Well, and Lucas would have developed this just by his own. I mean, it's not like he was born and bred riding big waves here in Maui, so he's not necessarily, he's just comfortable having that board flutter under his feet, and he can manage that really well. Billy Kemper is another example of somebody who has dealt with this wind over and over and understands what it looks like to make these waves in these windier conditions. Tori Meister, another surfer who comes over here and deals with the wind, so he's been doing okay with it. You know, Nathan Florence, I think, is one surfer that you know, has a ton of experience, but probably not as much as you know, coming from the islands, as much in the wind. But he's been handling it so far really, really well. Now he sits on that cut line. He's got somebody behind him who really wants it. Lucas Cianca, Koa Rothman, and Nick Lamb. So he's got to make sure that he gets on some set waves here.
Taking a look in the channel here, and the paddle of Billy Kemper in the white jersey. He's leading this heat so far with 18 minutes on the countdown. Billy Kemper made a big showing at the Pipe Invitational, winning that event. As we look to the Billabong Pipe Masters, called off for today, likely to go tomorrow. So that's more news from the world of surfing here on the World Surf League. We got more news on the way for you. You gotta stick around if you want to hear it. Right around the corner, more surfing at Jaws. Watchful eye of the U.S. Coast Guard driving by the scene today here at Jaws. This is the CbdMd Jaws Big Wave Championship. Kaipagoro, along with a couple of big wave riders, Peter Mel and Dave Kalama on the call here. We're in the tail end of semi-final number 2 to see who are the 3 surfers to join Kai Lenny, Makua Kai Rothman, and Ian Walsh in this year's final.
Top half already really solid with that Kai Lenny, Makua, and Ian Walsh. And I know, you know, I mentioned Ian, you had mentioned Kai, Dave, but Makuakai already into it, is looking good, and to get a big win here in this event. You know, he is going to be hungry, and you know what? He has not taken as many beatings as everyone else, so I think his level of energy is up there. Although anytime you make a final in these events, even if you don't take the battle scars with you, is still a fatiguing day.
That's a really good point, Pete. Those beatings are so taxing. I don't care how much preparation you do, they take a toll. And if you can minimize that price you pay along the way when you get to the final, whether you come in with a lot of momentum or not, the energy level could be that deciding factor of what gives you the advantage or that momentum that you need to maybe carry it into a potential win. You know, so that's really an important factor, how much beatings they've taken.
Dave. The finish line. You know, you talked about it in the early heats, just being in the top 3 and then saving that for the finish line. So I like that analysis.
The last sprint, right? Well, they're going to get a rest, which is kind of nice because we're going to see the semifinal of the women hit the water. So ultimately, that is a time for Kai to grab his bean burrito, maybe have a nap. But it is fatiguing, I know. And one of the ways that Ian Walsh has been training himself is going out and closed out Hukipa and simulating a day of competing, where he'll go out for an hour, paddling out, getting pounded, doing whatever he can, surf a hard heat, come in for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever it is, and then go back out. And so simulating that type of fatigue training, that's the part of the training that, expanding the training, not just doing your cycle training in the gym, but actually going out there in the elements and experiencing it.
Yeah, you bring up a really good point. There's training and then there's training, right? Back in my day, if you went and ran the beach, you were training.
Yeah. How do you actually put it?
That barely scratches the surface now. Now you've got to do breath holding classes. You got to do weight training, agility. Yoga is extremely helpful. And you're searching for anything that can give you that advantage to compete as well as survive and manage those energy levels so that if you do take a pounding, you've still got energy when you get to the finals.
Oh, the sea mist from the channel. As we look into Pe'ahi, it's surprising for me to see Chumbo, Lucas Chianca, in that 4th place position and wanting to hang on to his position. This is Nathan Florence dropping into this one.
This, to me, was a strategic move for Nathan Florence to get rid of that .93. It also probably helped with the positioning slightly.
I like Nathan Florence playing the game right now. Good pickup, Pete.
And and I'm thinking about the traveling surfers too, who have to come here. You're traveling with, by the way, these 10-foot surfboards. You have a board bag. These board bags maybe fit 3 in them if you're lucky. Mostly 2, so you travel here thinking, okay, I got 2 boards, maybe 3. If ultimately you start enlisting maybe some local shapers, but I mean, obviously you're going to be comfortable with a certain shaper, so you're going to want to travel with your clubs, just like you would a golfer. You're going to want your home equipment. Nick Lamb's an example here. He had 2 boards destroyed today, and now he's sitting on the sidelines because he doesn't really have a backup board to go out on, and not necessarily want to just ask one of the boys over there, hey, can I borrow your, $2,000 surfboard? They'd probably give it to you, but it's not something I would do either. I just go, you know what, gave it an effort. 2 boards are in there, and that seems to be happening to Nick now.
Yeah, and you hate to see that be a barrier for your ability to compete, but it is a reality.
Yeah.
Big wave surfing doesn't pay very well. It's one of those
things.
It
does in life, though, yeah?
It's one of those things that's about passion and love, and those have to be the underlying motivations of why you do it. Because if you're doing it for money,
sorry,
not going to happen.
Yeah, go golf.
Or very rarely.
If you're going to do
go
it
golf.
for money. Here we go, taking a look at Billy Kemper in the lead position with 11 minutes and 20 seconds on the countdown here. And here we go, the comeback for Chumbo. High line, grabbing the rail. Lucas Chianca goes successful on that ride. A 2.68 will put him in the top 3 and advancing position.
That's very, very close. If you look at what that 2.60 was, that was, I believe, the little pig dog stanced one, right? That was that similar style of wave.
So that number has to go north of that 2.6 in my mind.
And was it a bigger wave? Was he more barreled? It feels like it's right in that same realm. As you take a look again, everything done well and done right, but didn't quite get in the barrel. I mean, if we're going to nitpick all these things, yeah. But very high speed and good control through it all.
Oh, loving it. Look at this view of Chumbo.
But I would have to say that it's not one of the major set waves that we've seen from earlier, so it's going to be right there.
Well, he got the job done as we look at this in slow motion, a 3.83 for this ride here, Dave, of Chumbo.
You know, I mean, every time you get to the plate in baseball, sure, you'd love to hit a home run, but that's not reality. Sometimes you just need to get on base, and that accounts for a lot. And he recognized, I'm sure, from the very onset, this is not a home run wave. Let me just get on base. And that's a strategic, you know, point of view, and it's smart.
Well, it worked for him because now he's in second position. Matter of fact, he's got himself a bit of a buffer by moving all the way into second. Now Nate Florence needs to make a move.
Yeah, and now the hot seat, Nathan Florence. Nathan Florence is looking for a 2.69. He's out in the red jersey. The man on the cut line, Tori Meister, is trying to defend his third place position.
And then you got Cole Rothman, and you look at, he's in that 6th position, but in reality, he only needs a 4.75 to turn it. So if he can get himself one solid wave, he could easily get himself into those top 3.
Cole Rothman out. You can see him in the yellow jersey out in the takeoff zone here at Pe'ahi. There's Koa. He's been quiet so far. No waves written to his credit. 9 minutes to seek out a wave where he can score a 4.75 or better.
Well, and it's a bit different heat than he had surfed earlier today. So it's, again, if you haven't been able to get a wave yet, that starts to build on you pressure-wise. You know, you're like, oh man, it's a little bit windier, you know, and you start to get in the brain slightly. I've known it, I felt it, you know, in a heat. You're starting to feel the fatigue slightly, and so mentally, you know, to get your head wrapped around turning on one of those 20-footers that are 40 foot on the face with 30 knots of wind blowing up, it is very challenging mentally. And at this point, with 8.5 to go, you just got to swing and go and hope that it comes out all right for himself.
You're right. At some point, you have to stop thinking and just send it. And his strategy is getting limited at this point. His options are getting numbered. He has to put a markup on the board. And so that really just means taking higher risk, taking more chances, and just going for it.
Well,
here he goes, Cole Rothman, but he's got Billy Kemper on the inside. Cole has to pull out, and Billy also has to bail his board and hope for not to go over the falls there. Again, no priority in this event. So positioning being your priority, and Billy Kemper maybe recognizing that Cole Rothman could have sent it, just whipped around there.
Yeah, was that potentially a protective or defensive move?
Here's Chumbo, Lucas Chianca. He's having fun.
No way.
He's having fun.
Back on his board after body surfing for a second there.
What a character.
Yeah, I just hope that decision that Billy made, where he potentially went over the falls, didn't cost him a board or any unnecessary used.
Yeah, he's okay.
He looks okay. He looks okay.
Here's Nate Florence, big late drop. Actually just rolls into it, completely in the barrel for a sec. Nathan Florence, again, toying with Jaws.
We got a new leader. I would say Nate Florence is going to definitely move into the top 3 for sure, and most likely could see himself in the lead. But again, he has been playing that role where you saw Billy was way deep, right? Then you have Albie Lair, who is sitting way over on the West Bowl. He was sitting in the middle, and he's been getting waves like this all day long. So he's identified something, and it's working out for Nate Florence.
Kind of playing in the middle of the road, really. You know, maybe catch the tail end of a north set, be far enough down that he could chase a West Bowl.
And he just found himself a huge cavern. quick in and out, but positioning-wise, looking so relaxed too. I mean, there was just 3 paddles in.
Replay of Chumbo, Lucas Chianca, just having fun, like we said.
So right there, I want that shot. Feet off the board, butt sliding across the wave, and somehow got back on his board to finish it. Sort of.
He did a full-on butt spin and got to his board. Again, not going to factor into his 2 waves, but
entertaining nonetheless.
Nathan Florence has been ultra entertaining on that last ride, likely to go into first place. 2 judges agree, a 6.5, a 6.5, waiting for judge number 1, judge number 2, and judge number 4 to put their numbers in.
Pete, so when I had the conversation with Ian the other day, was that a surfer? No. I asked him, and I'd love to get your take on it. The mindset going into this competition, do you want edginess, do you want anger to be part of your mindset, or do you want calmness and zen as your approach? You know, he said kind of somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
How would you approach it?
I think that you have to kind of come, it was a surfer.
Yeah, that's Tori Meister that you saw while we were going through those thoughts there, taking a beating again. Tori Meister currently in 3rd place, but he's in a kind of a tough position. Here is Cor Rothman. Rothman with a late charge, but his requirement is going to be upped once all of these numbers get locked in. Tori Meister getting back on the sled. We're still waiting for the last score for Nathan Florence to set the situation, guys, in 4 minutes and 25 seconds.
You know, I would, to answer that question, Dave, I think it varies depending on the mood in which you're carrying going into the event, because I feel like there's this level of maybe being too revved up sometimes where you don't know how it's going to unfold when that goes down. You know, like if you're feeling too revved up, maybe the Zen approach, you know, to kind of, so you're kind of trying to gauge yourself and get to the middle to be able to compete in, because I think that being too revved up can make, you can make mistakes.
This is what happened to Tori Meister on the replay.
Oh, there it is once again, the aired out to back slap, which is something that we've seen over and over again here at Pe'ahi. And finally we get Koa Rothman to get the jitters out. He's got it going on. That was wave number 3 in that set, so he's able to pick a nice smoother face. Not going to be super critical for him, and just a nominal number of a 1.6. But that definitely would help riding this wave, especially if he was feeling mentally, you know, a little bit fatigued. But right now, still has some time. He could turn it around if he can get back out in the lineup.
3 minutes, 20 seconds, a new situation in the water. We finally got that score for Nathan Florence. As we suspected, Nathan Florence goes to first. Billy Kemper in second. Lucas Chianca in third. So the entire story has changed in this last 3 minutes as far as potential finalists. And now the surfers are scrambling.
Running
set
for the
hills.
hills.
Coming.
Oh, man, and that big west angle. That is the scariest feeling.
Nathan Florence just paid.
When you're, and this is one thing too that's pretty scary about this venue, is that when the winds are up like they are, your vision gets impaired. And he did go over. He got a trip over, huh?
Yeah, Nathan Florence, as everyone was scrambled, went right over. And now our water patrol, our safety patrol, looking for Nathan Florence.
I don't know if he went over.
He sure didn't appear to be in the screen in that last shot.
We saw the gray board getting ditched on that one. We'll take another look at it right now.
What I was going to allude to, though, is that the wind blows these plumes, right? And when the wave goes by, all of a sudden, that right there, you see the board going over.
So
Does
that's
he go with it?
Florence board.
At that point, he has got every arm out, leg out, trying to not get dragged over the falls.
What he could have done, Pete, because those guys got caught inside, we talked earlier about the quick release on the leashes that the big wave riders run. Do you think there's a chance that he hit that quick release?
Could be. It definitely helps not get sucked over.
There's Chumbo.
Wow.
Big drop for Chianca, and he's looking good at a spot in the final.
Gotta love the performance. Very passionate approach from Lucas Chianca, and we'd have to say this is going to improve his situation slightly. Very nicely done drop.
Hey, it's working. I wouldn't change a thing if I were him. Just keep having fun and keep sending it.
Yeah, he stayed outside. He was fine. He didn't pull a quick release, but there's Billy.
Here we go, Billy Kemper looking in form as we get close to the final.
One more hard
Staying
bottom turn.
right in the critical zone. Up and down, roller coastering down the line. Billy Kemper, he sealed his place in the final.
The wind blows so hard that all of a sudden it's just, you cannot, it's a full whiteout for a good amount of time. And the stronger the wind is, the longer that whiteout lasts. And all of a sudden what happens is that all of a sudden it's clear. And if it's black when it goes clear, you better start running for that horizon.
Cole Rothman, last ditch effort, looking for 4.33 on this ride. You think that wave had 4.33 in it, Peter?
I also think that this number is going to rise because Lucas's score has yet to post, which would probably lift that third place needed score for Koa Rothman. So I would say that Koa probably not going to transfer into the final. It looks to me like it's going to stay Nathan, Billy, and Lucas. But yeah, it's hard because you cannot see once a set wave goes by. And if the first wave, all of a sudden you're like, I know the second wave's good, but you can't gauge how far to paddle out, or do you stay where you're at in order to catch that next wave. You just got to go off of kind of instinct and braille and hope you keep your eyes peeled that suddenly it clears, that you can make that adjustment. And it's an adjustment that you're going to make within 3 or 4 seconds just to position yourself for that next wave because you can't see.
Yeah, you're right. Do you go out and try and get over the next one, or do you go towards the channel and try and get to the shoulder?
And it's a whiteout if you can't see anything for a good 3 seconds after a wave goes by because there's so much mist and steam coming off the top.
Yeah, I mean, to some degree, it's a total guess. But you got to do something. You can't just sit there. So either start paddling straight out or straight to the channel. I mean, at least when you go into the channel, you have the swells, the wind swells helping you. And if you can catch one of those, you might be able to double the ground you cover just from getting a glide off of one of the swells.
Well, guys, it's going to be Nathan Florence, Billy Kemper, and Lucas Chianca joining Kai Lenny, Makuakai Rothman, and Ian Walsh in our men's final here at the CbdMd Jaws Big Wave Championship. There's the numbers, and we have the men's final all set. When we get back, the women are going to be in the water here at Jaws. Stick around.